Hey everyone, and welcome to What Was That with Gabe Sanchez. In what might be the most bizarre and deranged Trump rally I've ever seen, Donald Trump complained about the 2020 election, accused John Fetterman of doing drugs, and claimed to have met with Mark Zuckerberg at the White House last week. I watched Donald Trump's 2-hour speech so you don't have to, and here are some of the more memorable moments. Also, here's a photo I took of Republicans who were at the Trump rally. So right out of the gate, the wannabe dictator who ran on a platform of hate and xenophobia for 4 years called President Biden's Soul of the Nation speech vicious, hateful, and divisive.
Joe Biden came to Philadelphia, Pennsylvania to give the most vicious, hateful, and divisive speech ever delivered by an American president.
I can think of countless vicious, hateful, and divisive speeches that Trump gave while he was president, not to mention Trump's presidential campaign announcement back in 2015.
When Mexico sends its people, they're not sending their best. They're bringing drugs, they're bringing crime, they're rapists.
And look, if you're offended by Biden calling out MAGA Republicans for their harmful rhetoric and fascist policies, you're part of the problem. Now, before I get ahead of myself, let's see what else Trump had to say.
Vilifying 75 million citizens plus another probably 75 to 150.
Okay, 75 million people plus another 75 to 150 million people. And if 158 million people voted in the 2020 election... Wait, that math makes zero sense. You know what? Maybe I just misunderstood the speech and Trump is actually uniting the nation.
He's an enemy of the state.
Nope. Never mind. Trump has the audacity of saying that Biden is an enemy of the state when it's Trump that's currently being investigated for violating the Espionage Act. I mean, nothing screams enemy of the state more than treason. But you gotta hand it to Trump and the Republican Party. They are professionals when it comes to projection and hypocrisy. Whether it's the economy, being sexual predators, or promoting fascism, Republicans will blame others for the very thing that they are guilty of. Just look at Trump back in 2020 when he called Democrats fascists.
Destroy our Second Amendment, attack the right to life, and replace American freedom with left-wing fascism. Fascists. They are fascists.
And because Trump didn't have any legitimate rebuttal to what President Biden said about MAGA during his speech, Trump could only comment on the red lighting that was behind President Biden.
How'd you like the red lighting behind him like the devil?
I'm sorry, but this is ridiculous. The guy is literally wearing a red tie in front of a crowd wearing red MAGA gear and they're waving red signs. Not to mention the donation platform used by Trump and Republicans to grift money from their cult is called Win Red. So by Republican logic, their very own donation platform and the money they receive is associated with the devil. Now, because this was the first Trump rally since the FBI searched Trump's Mar-a-Lago home, he had to bring it up.
They rifled through the First Lady's closet, drawers, and everything else, and even did a deep and ugly search of the room of my 16-year-old son.
And the only reason that Trump mentioned Melania and Barron is 1, for sympathy, and 2, because he's probably freaking out that the FBI found whatever he hid in their stuff. Also, I don't know of any law enforcement agency that'll neatly fold your clothes and clean your home after executing a search warrant, but hey, if I'm wrong, then I happily invite the FBI to search my home.
Yet they go in and take documents, dump them on the floor, stage a photo shoot, and pretend that I had done it, like I had put them all over the floor.
Keep in mind, Trump went from accusing the FBI of planting evidence to then admitting he took the classified documents to now accusing the FBI of staging a photo shoot to make him look like a slob. Trust me, Trump does not need the FBI's help with that. I mean, just look at how he's kept his other offices. And despite Trump and Republicans complaining about how the FBI photographed the classified documents, they never complain when money, drugs, or weapons are seized and photographed by law enforcement. You know, typical protocol at a crime scene. Actually, you know what? I think I may have an easy fix to this whole problem, and it's a bit controversial, so just hear me out. If you don't want the FBI to search your home, then don't break the law. I mean, honestly, guys, it's that simple. And of course, because the FBI was mentioned, MAGA did a good old-fashioned lock her up chant. And it wouldn't be a Trump rally without Trump whining about how the 2020 election was rigged.
The 2020 election was rigged and stolen, and now our country is being destroyed by people who got into office through cheating and through fraud.
Look, I am not going to waste my time discussing this ridiculous issue because it's already been disproven countless times. So let me be clear to any MAGA Republicans out there. It wasn't rigged. Trump lost. And speaking of the 2020 election, Trump just had to bring up the infamous and perfect phone call he had with Georgia's Secretary of State, Brad Raffensperger.
But the district attorney, Trump made a phone call because he was challenging the election. So they're after me for a perfect, by the way, perfect phone call. You'd be very proud of me.
And once again, Trump is openly bragging about how he tried to influence the 2020 election that he was running in. That's like an athlete going to a ref during a championship game and saying, hey, I need you to add a few points to my team so we can win. So far throughout the rally, I've been able to understand most of the bullshit that Trump has spewed, except for this.
We will never let that happen, and we will never let it happen. Even though we're going to be gone, we're going to set this country up so strong and so powerfully that we may not be here, at least some of the older ones, and I love you all, but we're going to have the country set up properly, like it was before the COVID came in, before the China dust came in.
And also this.
If you want to see a dead bird cemetery, go under a windmill sometime. It's not a pretty sight.
If you're confused by what Trump is talking about, don't worry, you're not alone. I mean, even I had to call my friend John Walsh, who's a Trump impressionist, to help translate what Trump said.
What I was trying to say is the windmills, they blew in the China dust, essentially killing all the little birdies, and eventually we're all gonna die. I don't know, I just made that up.
Anyway, moving on. According to Trump, Mark Zuckerberg came to see him at the White House last week.
Last week, weirdo, he's a weirdo, Mark Zuckerberg came to the White House, kissed my ass. Kissed my ass. Sir, I'd love to have dinner. Sir, I'd love to have dinner. I'd love to bring my lovely wife. All right, Mark, come on in. Sir, you're #1 on Facebook. I'd like to congratulate you. Oh, thank you very much, Mark. I appreciate it.
I find this story really hard to believe, since Trump was kicked out of the White House over 18 months ago. Oh, and by the way, Trump is still banned on Facebook. And as if this speech couldn't get any more bizarre, here's one of the crazy things that Trump said about John Fetterman.
Fetterman supports taxpayer-funded drug dens and the complete decriminalization of illegal drugs, including heroin, cocaine, crystal meth, and ultra-lethal fentanyl. And by the way, he takes them himself.
I'm sorry, what was that?
Fentanyl, and by the way, he takes them himself.
Trump publicly accusing John Fetterman of being a drug addict with no proof is straight from the MAGA playbook. And this is just one example amongst many from Trump's speech that was vicious, hateful, and divisive. And that's the theme at every Trump rally. If you go against Trump and MAGA's fascist beliefs, then you are an enemy of the state. And as much as Donald Trump wants to be a dictator, he's nothing more than a broke, impotent, narcissistic, simple-minded, weak, and insecure man-baby. And I can't wait till that traitor's in prison. Well, I'm Gabe Sanchez, and this has been What Was That?